the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Sir, Jabera recently you who say Anas Aremeyaw Anas etimi ede ababe to ni Facebook and afi ni Twitter say or the Kennedy compare kon Japan ekokopie mu e the United States of America court ameno e ka say court no etimi award ono Anas Aremeyaw Anas $18 million video no uhwem Anas etimi eda na lawyer for ase Ghana for onya gidie e wonu so Anas Aremeyaw Anas etimi eda won nyina ase se won etimi aboa na watimi awini $18 million defamation suit na eno ena Anas video enom ne nsem otimi eba be kan nyina sa na asem no enya ade se enukure bia ewum case no afei ena akokot ena jury no etimi ede case no akwa judge or trese Anas Aremeyaw Anas open $18 million inti judge ne announce no ena Anas Aremeyaw Anas etimi tabiri ede ba betu ni Facebook page say judge no etimi ruling me no ka say ruling bia entimi emfamai. Does that one mean say Anas Aremeyaw Anas etimi ababi chat ntro na se utwa ntro so a punishment be na ewo ho me no ka say de Kennedy compare kon Japan lawyers etimi atabiri Anas ede no asan akokopie mu ewo court wo the reason why ntia yenyan di asem no na Anas Aremeyaw Anas etimi ede ababe tu da se onu etimi awi ni nti eba sa punishment ben ene ede be ma Anas Aremeyaw Anas se wababi twa ntro na ode yenko tie Paul e ka ho asem.
So, Anas Aremeyaw Anas, unhappy with comments made by Kennedy Japan. We all remember, what do you call it? Who watches the Watchman? We remember that, don't we? So this who watches the Watchman thing was quite dastardly against Anas's image and work and all of that. It was mounted by Kennedy Japan when he became furious that as far as he was concerned, the whole operations of Tiger Eye was masked in a lot of immorality, debauchery, money. We don't know whether his assessment is correct or not, but that was what he assessed. And he got very, very angry with it. And so he decided to spend his own money, because he's a rich man, and push out a media agenda against this dastardly operation. In the middle of his agenda, then the guy, Ahmed Swale, unfortunately passed. May he rest in peace. And so Anas sued in America. And in Ghanaian courts, when Anas first sued in Ghanaian courts, hold on, there's a reason why I'm doing this, yes. When Anas first sued in Ghanaian courts, he appeared in court like this. And the judge said, wait a minute. You can't come to a court and cover your face. When you have brought the legal action here, an action in defamation, and you are covering your face, you don't want to be seen, I'm not going to take that from you. Giddy. And then the supporters of Anas said, oh, the courts in Ghana don't like Anas because he was the one who exposed them under Georgina Wood and said that they are collecting Bayere and Aponchi and things like that. That's what Anas supporters said. We all looked at it. Anas lost the case. Then Anas goes to sue in America. Can you imagine? And then America says exactly the same thing that the Ghanaian court said. Hey, Baba, you can't come to this court and cover your face. Oh, and then, who is doing this? Please, I'm sorry, let me get to the other one. Please. Oh, the Ghanaian court said, Baba, you can't cover your face. Oh. Then he says, oh, I can't cover my face. I said, no, you can't. Then he shows a face. People are arguing on social media whether it's him, it's not him. I don't know. But he shows a face with spectacles, eyes, everything, nose, everything. He shows it. In an American court. Now the question to ask is that why did Anas refuse to show his face in Ghana, but in America he agrees to show his face? Is it disrespect for the Ghanaian judicial authority? Or what is it? Why do we do that to ourselves? Black man. Why do we do that to ourselves? Black judge says remove your face, I won't remove it. White judge says remove your face, yes sir, I remove. Really? Kwesi Pratt, where are you? Kwame Nkrumah talked about neocolonialism. Kwesi Pratt, where are you? The neocolonialism is working. Imperialism is working. Because Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can heal our own mind. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Mental slavery. You see a black judge. He says, the rule of court is that remove your face. You say, no, I won't do it. I will never remove my face. A wise judge says, remove your face. You gladly do it. Really? Let's get to the facts. A case for defamation against Kennedy Japan, the following ensued. 1. Anas was compelled to remove his mask and testify in open court upon being ordered to do so. He was ordered to do so in Ghana. He didn't listen. In America, he was ordered to do so. He did. He was led in examination in chief and cross-examined. After, the judge instructed the jury to whether the statements that Anas alleged against him were defamatory and whether they were made with malice. Abeku, what is directions to jury?
So directions, a direction to a jury is a judge instructing the jury on what exactly to look out for.
Who is jury?
And a jury is a group of persons who make determination as to facts. So when we say facts
Where do they find jury from?
From normal people. We often call them our peers. So peers are upright people in the society. And then there is a hearing or there is a sitting called voir dire. Voir dire is the lawyers from both sides of the case, the plaintiff and the defendants, would all look at the pool that has been provided by the courts, and then they'll be given the opportunity to object. Maybe I don't want this person, maybe his glasses are too big. I don't want this person, I've insulted him before, that sort of thing. And then we would have a definite number. In the United States, for civil matters, the jury ranges between 6 and 12 persons, yes, for civil matters.
But that's an even number.
Yes.
So if it's split between the middle, that
for civil matters, it's supposed to be unanimous.
Oh, I see.
In civil matters.
So if one of the jury disagree,
it's lost. So they have 3 types of juries. A grand jury. A grand jury makes a determination as to whether or not an individual should be indicted. When we say indicted is simply a formal accusation. In Ghana, it's not like that.
Okay, let me bring it back. So jury were selected.
Yeah, they
Both
were selected.
parties agreed on the jury.
Yes.
Okay, so this instructions to jury comes at the end of the trial.
At the end of the trial and at the end of the submissions of both parties. So the closing arguments.
So after the closing argument, so cross-examination has happened both
Everything
ways.
has happened.
Jury is watching.
Yes.
Okay, so it means the judge has no role.
The judge has a role. So the judge has a role to moderate. The judge has a role to make determination on issues of law. The judge at times has a role to play in instructing the jury. So the judge looks at the facts, determines what the issues are, and instructs the jury accordingly. So for instance, if you see here, it says whether the statements were made with malice. Mind you, these statements were made in the United States.
But the jury are not lawyers.
They are not lawyers, and that's the criticism.
With what tools of application will they determine that this was defamatory or this was not defamatory? One is murder, like in Ghana.
Yes.
Whether he killed or he didn't kill, you don't need too much legal finesse to be able to determine that Kofi Mensah was the one who used the knife to choke this one. But this is, whether a statement is made defamatory, whether it's made with malice, it requires a bit of...
So they would often glean it from the facts, the surrounding circumstances, how the conduct of the parties have been, and then make the determination as to whether or not...
So the judge instructed them to do these 2 things. Then what did they do?
3 things, actually.
Okay.
So first, determine whether statements were defamatory. 2, determine whether they were made with malice. Malice is adwemobone.
That you intended to.
You intended, I want to mafia you.
Yeah.
And then 3, make a determination as to damages and whether punitive damages should be paid. Not the amount of punitive damages. Whether punitive damages...
What is damages as distinguished from punitive damages?
So, if I offend you, I do something bad to you, and because of that you are stressed, you've come to court, you are worried, at the end of the day you win the case, I'm supposed to give you some amount of money to sort of appease
compensate
sort of. So it's damages. Punitive damages is the court looks at my conduct and says, you are Preku, you've been very malicious, you've been very wicked, so I want it to hurt you, and so I would add extra costs in addition to just me paying you, making you comfortable. I would also add costs that makes me suffer to show that I cannot take advantage of people. So it's a punishment. It's not just me appeasing the person.
Okay. So then what happened after that? So the jury were told that don't add punitive damages. Is that what they were told?
The jury were told to determine whether or not punitive damages should be paid, not the amount of punitive damages.
Or whether punitive damage should be paid. So that is the malice thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So it feeds from the malice.
Okay.
And
correct.
then at a later sitting, they would determine whether or not, or they would determine the amount of punitive damages to be paid if the jury indeed found that punitive damages should be paid.
Who would determine the amount? The judge?
It will determine. It will hinge on the further instructions given to the jury at that sitting.
Or it will go back to the jury
At that sitting.
Okay, so then the jury came back with an award of $18 million in favor of Anas.
Yes.
Then what happened?
At this time, we didn't know. They just said 18 million. So the court assumed that 18 million is the damages I was talking about earlier, the general damages that I'm just compensating you. So now the judge now goes further to ask, okay, on the issue of punitive damages, how far? Then the jury says that, the punitive damages, we added it to the 18 million. Oh. So we've already determined the punitive damage.
Okay.
So now the judge comes again and said, no, my instructions to you was to determine whether or not punitive damages should be paid and not the amount of punitive damages that have to be paid. So once instructions are given to juries and it becomes apparent that juries did not comply with the instruction, then you can go on appeal, you can bring an application to dismiss the verdict, and there are other remedies. So in this instance, Anas's Kennedy Japan's lawyers raised an objection and applied. There was an application for a mistrial, which ruling would come at a later date.
30 days from now.
30 days, yes. In fact, they have submitted both their written arguments, what in Ghana would call statements of case. So the statement of case, Kennedy Japan's lawyers are going to write that the judge instructed the jury to do A, B, and C.
And they did something else.
They did something else.
What are Anas lawyers going to say?
I
mean, they will have to back the jury, isn't it?
Yes, they'll have to back the jury.
So they have to find a way.
Yes, they may make an argument that in any case it is substance over form. And so if the jury has found it prudent to, at that stage, award damages, then it will be superfluous for the judge to go back and backtrack everything.
I've been told that the three possible outcomes are that the judge may uphold the mistrial and begin the trial afresh.
Yes.
And in that case, select a new jury.
Yes.
Or the judge may cure the jury's errors and pronounce a verdict very similar to what the jury have said, but it may be different in terms of reduced damages.
Variation.
Okay. In that case, will an appeal lie at the Court of Appeal in the American judicial system? Is there an appeal line from the Court of Appeal?
Most likely, because the reason there is a rationale behind giving a judge a sort of relative control over what the jury can do or the jury cannot do. And so a flagrant disregard in that, or a purported flagrant disregard in that respect, is problematic.
So can you win on the jury and lose at the appeal? Like we know O.J. Simpson.
Yes, yes.
You win at the jury.
Yes,
they award you agree with you. 10 million.
You go.
Court of Appeal says no
because there are no jury. There's no jury.
It's just three judges who are going to. Is American appeal three judges like
three judges?
Like common law appeal.
Yes, and then Supreme is 9. They sit all.
But there's another matter coming up where Kennedy Japan's lawyers, speaking to them this afternoon, they told me that they are filing something else. They are filing a process against Anas for Anas publishing what is happening in court and misleading the world, including the BBC and all of that. Is that a defamatory suit or is it contempt?
I think it would lie more in contempt. The reason being that many of us, or many people, often make the mistake that contempt or a proceeding ends at when the judge pronounces judgments. That is so, but that is not fully so. Because after a judge has given or pronounced judgments, after the jury has given a verdict, there are extra procedures that may take place. So, for instance, someone kills somebody, he's found guilty.
At the High Court level.
At the High Court level. We can fix another sitting for sentencing, right? If you go out and you make certain statements, that brings the administration of justice into disrepute. You can still be found for contempt.
But if the jury has given him 18 million, he goes to tell the BBC that I've won 18 million. And I understand that his lawyers have told Anas that he shouldn't have done that.
Yes, because the matter is still pending. So technically, you really don't have the 18 million yet.
Okay, let's not get ourselves into contempt on our own motion. We'll leave it here, viewers. But the big conversation is that Anas decided to open his face in America, but in Ghana, he says that his face is last night. That Dr. Addison here his home had been raided by national security. And it was led by Richard Jakpa, who was worried about CCTV cameras. Because when he went to Ken Ofori-Attah's house, it was a CCTV camera that exposed him holding a pistol and cocking a gun to go in there. It beats my imagination, viewers. This is not NDC or MPP. It beats my imagination. We are running a state. Here is Captain Jakpa, young officer, who was taught by the Ghana Armed Forces that he is not fit to remain in the Ghana Armed Forces. This happened when John Dramani Mahama was commander-in-chief. President Mahama was the president of the day. And the armed forces, led by Brigadier General Ahiaglo, may he rest in peace, penciled a document that this Richard Jakpa is not fit to remain in the Ghana Armed Forces. John Mahama was president. It wasn't as if it was a political witch hunt. It wasn't MPP. It was NDC. Richard Jakpa has already told reporters that he's a member of the NDC. There's no problem with that. So it was during the NDC, the party that he has publicly said he's a member of, it was during then that the military, the Ghana Armed Forces, the professional state institution decided that he cannot be a member of the armed forces. He goes away. Then comes in President Mahama on the second coming with a landslide victory and decides that the person that the armed forces said he's not fit and proper to be should become a national security director responsible for special operations. What are you going to get? These are the conversations that we should be having. This is not MPP or NDC. This has nothing to do with MPP or NDC. This is the military, assuming the police, deciding that this person is not fit to be a police officer. And then the regime comes and the president says, the person you said is not fit to be a police officer, he's the one that I want him to do special operations in the police. But that's the decision of the president. He has the power to do so. But it's a decision that should unnerve a lot of security and intelligence thinkers. That what is going on here? I have not heard anybody talk about it. I have not heard Adam Bona talk about it. I have not heard Kwesieni talk about it. I have not heard any of the security civil societies talk about it. This is a very important matter. If you read the document about why the military said Jakpa should not be there, you would understand my concern. But power is power. So let's leave it. Richard Jakpa leads an onslaught on Dr. Addison's home. And he goes to Dr. Addison's home and he first destroys Dr. Addison's property. He destroys it by going in to take out security cameras so that they don't see what he is doing. Now, if you are sent by national security and you have a warrant of arrest, why are you destroying CCTV cameras? So that's the intelligent question that Afenyo Makin was asking in the press conference we just showed you. Why are you destroying evidence? Because you know that what you are doing there is unlawful. And I heard the Deputy Attorney General say something. I won't talk about him today. I'll leave it. That a lawyer can say that a raid on the former governor's house, including the destruction of CCTV cameras, was lawful. That's what a lawyer said. A lawyer, barrister at law, solicitor of the Supreme Court of Ghana, a lecturer in law. This is what he said. He said that Jakpa went to the house and destroyed CCTV cameras, and that was lawful. That's what the Attorney General said. That's what he said. The Deputy Attorney General, he said this was lawful. I'll come to Shamima Muslim in a minute, but let's move on. So that has happened. They didn't find anything in Dr. Addison's house. After they left Dr. Addison's house, where is the National Security Coordinator? Do you have that yet? Yes. After they left Dr. Addison's house, this noble man, very, very noble man, he called Dr. Addison and said, Chief, I've heard so and so and so, blah, 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 blah. The cars that were taken have been parked here. If you can send somebody to go for it, and blah, 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 blah. Very, very decent man. Very, very, very decent man. What is happening with... So do we always have to rely on decent people? Can't we rely on the laws of Ghana? Do we always have to hope that there's some decent man in there? This is the guy that Dampari didn't want. This is the guy, very decent man. He's the guy that Dampari didn't want. He didn't promote him. He left him. But for his intervention last night, it would have been bizarre. And he was bold enough to call Dr. Addison and say, my name is so and so. I'm the National Security Coordinator. I have been apprised of this situation. Do this, do that, do that, do that, and let's work together. He is not cancelling any investigation on Dr. Addison. Dr. Addison doesn't want any investigation to be cancelled. He has nothing to hide. He can answer every question. Haven't we had Dr. Addison was at the Bank of Ghana when Agama was the governor. He was there. Dr. Addison was there when Kwabena Dufo was the governor. He was